the channel. I'm back to break down this 8-game slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into the breakdown, I do want to go ahead and let you guys know about some of the stuff I have going on my Patreon package. I have added some hot hitters StatCast data, some team hitting data, and some bullpen data. So when becoming a patron of mine, you'll now get access to my pitcher data sheet, StatCast data, so things like exit velocity, barrel percentage, the hottest hitters around the league. And then you'll get team hitting data and bullpen data. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick sneak peek of the StatCast data tool I put together. So an example I've been giving is if you go down, I know one of the hottest hitters in the league right now is Fernando Tatis. He's been in all of the news. He's going off lately. If you go ahead and highlight Fernando Tatis, you can see his average exit velocity, his max exit velocity, and you got things like barrel percentage, amount of barrels, and hard hit percentage. So, this is a great tool. It'll just be you'll be able to sort by, who's hot and who you should be getting in your lineups. And then my hitting data sheet and my pitching data sheet are all broken down and color-coded so that you can target the best plays each and every day. So a little promo there for the Patreon package. I've been working hard on that over there. I try to make it affordable, and I try to make it very valuable to you guys. Offer you value and make you a better MLB DFS player. So that's some of the stuff going on over there. You can follow me over on Twitter at KJK_DFS, where I'll tweet out updates as much as possible. And let's start breaking down this slate. So we got an 8-gamer today. Not exactly the largest slate compared to some of the ones we've been playing recently. But 8 games is decent, and we definitely have some options we can work with here. So as always, I like to go ahead and break down the pitchers we're going to want to target first, and we do that by looking at K rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts. And the first pitcher that we're going to want to put on live today is that in Dinelson Lamet. He stands out in a major way today in the strikeout category. Well, we do have a guy that's definitely a top tier ahead of him. We'll go ahead and break him down after. But Lamet leads the slate in strikeout percentage. Against righties, he's got a 36.8% K rate, and then against lefties, he's got a 30.4%. So his strikeout stuff is really there, and he gets to take on a Texas team where the strikeout numbers are definitely there. And Lamet comes in as a 199 favorite. He comes down at an 8.5 price tag on DraftKings, and this is just a tremendous spot for Lamet. So, being that he's kind of in the mid to upper price range, and he's got that kind of K stuff, and he gets to take on a Texas lineup that has its fair share of strikeouts in it, got to have some interest in Lamet today. And then secondly is actually, the most premier pitcher on the slate. This kid's been real good this year. Shane Bieber, he comes in with a 29.3% K rate. Against righties, he's really good with a 29, and against lefties, he's got a 29.6. So it's Shane Bieber. We know what we're getting with him. He is just absolutely dominating early in the season here. And he gets to take on a Pittsburgh Pirates team where the strikeouts are definitely there, and he's a 245 favorite. So both of these two pitchers we've looked at, they have good stuff. They have good matchups, and they're heavy favorites. So, you're kind of getting the full package. You're getting strikeouts. You're getting the win. You're getting all of that good stuff when you're playing Shane Bieber and Lamet today. And then third on the list, the guy I'm going to have to mention is that in Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray comes in with a 26.4% K rate, 26.8 to righties, and a 26.1 to lefties. So, pretty consistent across the board. And he's going to fit in with these guys up here today at a 9.5 price tag. He's a little more pricier than Dinelson Lamet. So you will have to pay up a little higher for Sonny Gray. So that might be something, to be honest, with the pricing and the matchup and then the Vegas lines. I think I do greatly prefer Lamet at the discount today. But Sonny Gray is a guy, he's up there on the slate, definitely in pitching options, and we have to mention him next. And then, this next These last few, it's kind of a blend, but I would say the last guy I'm going to have to recommend is Jose Berrios, and I recommend him because of the strikeout rate that these Milwaukee Brewers are displaying. Milwaukee's got a lot of strikeouts in their lineup, and Berrios doesn't have the most elite K stuff, but he comes in at 24.1%. He's got a 23.5 to righties and then a 24.6 to lefties. So, you know what you're getting with him. I wouldn't say it's a below average strikeout rate, but it's average. I mean, for fantasy sports, 24% is average. It's not anything special, but the Milwaukee Brewers can definitely boost that K percentage, and you can be looking at a good number from Berrios today. And salary relief, we got to go ahead and mention Nathan Eovaldi. Eovaldi's numbers are not the greatest, but he gets to take on a Baltimore team where the strikeouts are there. Comes in with a 22.6% K rate. The 4.81 ERA isn't the greatest, but the hard contact, the ground ball, and all that stuff's been pretty good. Against righties, once again, the hard contact, not the greatest, but the ground ball, the fly ball stuff is good. And then against lefties, that's where he starts to struggle a little bit more. So in looking at this Baltimore lineup today, they do have a fair share of lefties in there, and some lefties that can do some damage, mainly at the top of the order, and Francisco and Santander. But then the rest of the lineup, I'm not really all that concerned about. You could say Rio Ruiz has some pop, and Dwight Smith Jr. has some pop. So, maybe you could even stretch that list out to 4 guys to be concerned with. But Eovaldi's a guy that we're looking at for salary relief. So, we're not looking for him to be completely dominant. We'd prefer for him to be, but he's just an option we have to mention on the cheap end that has a good matchup, and he could definitely allow for some salary relief for you today if you're looking to get in some big bats. And speaking of big bats, let's go ahead and start breaking down the bats on today's slate. Looking at the pitchers we're going to target, the first one that stands out immediately is that in Kikuchi of the Seattle Mariners. He has been not good since he came to the majors. He's got a 5.06 SIERA, 5.44 ERA. Not good stuff right across the board in the K through swinging strike rate. And then the ground ball, the fly ball, and the walk at the hard rate aren't terrible, but when you look at his splits against righties, they are terrible. They are actually very terrible. He has a 526 slugging, a 367 WOBA, a 16.2 K percentage, so he doesn't strike anyone out, and he gets a lot of hard contact up. And then against lefties, it's below average too, because he still gives up a 500 slugging and a 337 WOBA. So, righties he's terrible against, and lefties he's bad against. So, being that he's taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have a very good lineup, and he's bad, that's recipe for success here, and we're going to want to target these Dodgers bats. These right-handed bats are our preferred options. So when I say that I have interest in every righty in this lineup, I mean it. Mookie Betts is obviously our premier option. He's been hot. Justin Turner is right up there with him. AJ Pollock's right up there. Chris Taylor, Enrique Hernandez, and Austin Barnes. All those guys you got to have interest in. Looking at Kikuchi's numbers, and then they all crush left-handed pitching. So, Kiki Hernandez at only 3.4, you got to like him a lot because he's cheap. Chris Taylor at 3.1, you got to like him a lot because he's cheap. AJ Pollock at 3.9, you got to like him a lot because he's cheap. I mean, those 3 guys alone is a tremendous power stack that's very cheap and affordable on DraftKings. So, yeah, but Justin Turner is definitely my favorite option. He's in a tremendous spot here. You got to like him a lot. So get these Dodgers in your lineups. Get the lefties in there too. It's just you're going to pay a lot for them, and they're not in as great as a matchup. But you got to throw the guys in at the top of the order that are elite bats and finish the stack. So throwing a Cody Bellinger or a Corey Seager if you can, depending on the pitching options. But we had discussed there's some good high tier pitching today in good matchups. So we might want to just go ahead and throw in some of these cheap Dodgers bats, and then figure out our other stack because we definitely want to get some good pitching in today. Moving further along in teams we can target. Second on the list is right next to him in Trevor Williams, taking on the Cleveland Indians. Trevor Williams has been less than average across the board as well. He's good in the hard contact category, but if you go to his splits, not that great against righties, and then against lefties, the slugging's a little better. So he's just below average across the board, and we do prefer to target him with right-handed bats if possible. But with that being said, it's not like he's great against lefties. So, this Cleveland lineup, we're going to want to target the main guys, even though they come from the left-hand side of the plate. These 1 through 4 switch hitters are always our top options. Jose Ramirez, Lindor, Santana. And then, as I mentioned, we do prefer righties. So a guy like Franmil Reyes, who has a ton of power, we're going to like him a lot today. And then you can throw in Domingo Santana, Roberto Perez, and Shields. But, I mean, my favorite options are definitely 1 through 5. I know that's kind of usually the case, but in this case specifically, that's definitely 6 through 9. This lineup really drops off as far as my interest. But you could throw those guys in there to complete your stacks and for salary relief, because you're paying up a little higher for these prices in the the 1 through 5 range. But Carlos Santana and Franmil Reyes are both in the low 4K range, so maybe go ahead and throw them in your lineups and then finish your stack out with a 6-7 type of deal. Wouldn't mind that at all. And then moving further along, guys, we're going to want to target the next guy that comes in on the list is that in Asher Wojciechowski. Wojciechowski goes and takes on Boston today. You look at his ground ball and his fly ball rates, they are beat red on this sheet compared to the rest of the slate. He really stands out in that category. He gives up a ton of fly balls, and the hard contact and the walk rate aren't great either. And then when you go over to righties, once again, the ground ball and the fly ball rate are terrible, and then the slugging's a 457. And against lefties, it's real bad because it kicks up to a 522 slugging, 358 WOBA, and the ground ball and the fly ball stuff is terrible. So, yeah, definitely have interest in these Red Sox bats. Definitely have interest in these Red Sox lefties. Going into Baltimore, they also have a terrible bullpen. So I'm a big fan of this Boston stack today, and I'm a big fan of the lefties in particular. So Verdugo, Devers, and Moreland top my list. And then it's not like Wojciechowski's elite against righties either. So we're going to want to throw in the best hitters in the lineup. And JD Martinez and Xander Bogaerts are definitely, top 3 hitters in this lineup. So yeah, a lot of interest in these Red Sox. JBJ there in the 8-hole if he's in the lineup, I would actually really like in this spot. He's not really a premier hitter, but with the splits, I could see JBJ doing some damage. So I would like him at a 3.8 price tag. And really just 1 through 9. I mean, Christian Vasquez, Kevin Pillar, and Aruz are not exactly my top options, and being that Christian Vasquez is priced at 5-1, I'm not really sure if I want to go there with the pitching we have. So price tags are a thing. They're a little priced up, but for good reason. I mean, the matchup's tremendous. And then on the other side of this game, we're probably going to go ahead and break down these Orioles because while I did mention Eovaldi as a salary relief option, it's not like he's got elite numbers. When we review them real quick, he's real good in the ground ball, the fly ball stuff. Against righties, he still allows the slugging, and then against lefties, same type of deal. And these Orioles have some guys that could do some damage here, and then the Red Sox bullpen has been not great either. Just their pitching staff, and same with Baltimore. So we get 2 teams with the pitching staffs have been struggling. Their pitching staffs aren't the greatest. And and then a good hitting environment in Baltimore. So I think that this game you could have a lot of interest in it. And when looking at the Baltimore side, you want to have the guys with power. And those would be Chance Sisco, Santander, Nunez, Ruiz, Alberto, and Smith. I mean, pretty much the 1 through 6 range is what you're looking at. And then the bottom of the order you can throw in to finish up your stacks. Pedro Severino has some power as a catcher, but he's a little priced up. I don't know if we want to spend that much money for stacks. We got to figure out our pitching too. We'll be able to fit that in. But I think I think this is a slate where you can have more than usual interest in the Baltimore Orioles. So I want to make that clear. And then to finish up the breakdown, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys one more stack, and it's going to be in this last game in the Angels and the Giants. And when looking at the weather here today, It's 66 degrees, which isn't great, with 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, but it's important to keep in mind in San Francisco, the wind doesn't really get the wind doesn't have as much impact as it does in other stadiums. But when looking at this pitching matchup, you got Matt Andrees and Gausman, and you know, Gausman is definitely a guy that we can go ahead and target here. When looking at his numbers, you know, he's pretty good across the board. I mean, as far as he's not terrible, but the splits against righties, he gives up slugging, wOBA, and hard contact. And then against lefties, it's a little better, but he's just below average. And, you know, it's mainly these right-handed hitters that can slug it on the Angels that you want to have interest in. So, you know, obviously Mike Trout, a lot of interest in him. You got Anthony Rendon, Albert Pujols, Joe Adell, the top prospect. And then, you know, you could pretty much throw in anyone to finish up the stack because we have Tommy La Stella, who has a ton of power, Shohei Ohtani, who has a ton of power against righties. And I think this could just be like a late night hammer spot type of deal that's sneaky, and it's not going to have a lot of ownership. So I don't want to just want to go ahead and throw those Angels in there. And that will pretty much sum up my breakdown of the slate. So, you know, let's do a little quick little breakdown of what I've gone over. Pitching, Shane Bieber, you got to have interest in. Kershaw is a guy I didn't mention. It's not that Kershaw is a bad option. I mean, he gets to take on the Seattle Mariners. He's in a great matchup, but he comes in at 10-2, and I don't know that Kershaw has the same upside as these other pitchers I mentioned in fantasy. He's a great real-life pitcher, but fantasy-wise, he doesn't seem to have that same upside. I'll have to do some digging in later and just look at, you know, strikeout rates and stuff from my team data sheet and figure out if I really think he can match the upside that these other guys can. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and say, you know, guys like Bieber and Lamet can definitely top him in upside. So just want to explain myself on that one. Jose Barrios is taking on the Milwaukee Brewers, who have been strikeout happy. I mentioned Eovaldi as a salary relief option, but I also have interest in the Baltimore bats, so you're going to have to decide which side you're on there. But the Boston stack is one I definitely have a ton of interest in, most notably the lefties, you know, Verdugo, Devers, and Moreland. And then Dinelson Lamet, I have a ton of interest in as a pitcher. Sonny Gray, you have to have interest in as a pitcher. And then I mentioned this Angels stack as a late night sneaky stack. The Giants bullpen has been bad, and Kevin Gausman is below average. So, got to have interest in the Angels. And with all this being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my home run call of the day. I had mentioned I really like these Red Sox lefties today, and my home run call of the day is going to be that and Rafael Devers. Devers hasn't exactly been having the biggest season, but I think this is a tremendous matchup for him to excel in. Yesterday, I didn't get the home run call right in my Jordan Luplow call, which brings me to a 4 for 8 on the season. I'm 50% right as far as home run calls. And I think Ralphie Devers is going deep today, so he's my home run call of the day. And that is what I will leave you guys with. Go ahead and check out my Patreon package, link in the description. I've been doing a lot of work over there. I think it's good stuff, and it's going to help you guys out with your MLB DFS lineups. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell if you're enjoying the content. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm a lot, and I greatly appreciate it. I want to grow this channel. I want to provide you guys value, and you know, if you can do that, it helps me out. And then in return, I'm going to help you out with some good data and some good tips to help out your MLB DFS lineups. So that is all from me today. Ralphie Devers is going deep. He's my home run call of the day. And with that, I will leave you guys the best of luck tonight, and have a good one.